feeling too good today, but I thought just to take my mind off it, I would actually make a little hair bobble for the dolls. So I've got a little elastic bobble. I got this in the pound shop and they were, I think, 20 for £1. And I bought a poppy, and I've taken it, I've pulled it all apart and I put it on, and I've taken all the pieces out. It was quite hard to pull it apart, but I did manage to do it. So I've got all the pieces here where I've sort of pulled it all apart, and I've got a few little tiny buttons. I don't know if you can see these. Yeah, and I thought I might use one of those buttons in the middle. I'm just going to make sure I put the lid on because we don't want hundreds of buttons all over the floor. So what I thought I'd do is I thought I'd have a go at sewing this by hand, and then anyone who hasn't got a sewing machine or a glue gun can follow along with this one. If you have got a glue gun, all you really need to do is get your band and glue all the layers onto it, and then once you've got all the layers glued on, I would put a couple of stitches just around it to hold it in place. If you've got a sewing machine, what I would suggest you do is put the two big flowers together first, then the middle one, then the small one, and then the inside bit, and then your button. I'd sew all those on first, all those pieces first there, then I'd probably hand sew the button on to the ring on the very last, like that, okay? But we're going to today do this with just a needle and thread, and so we're going to have a go at just seeing what that ends up like. So I've got my needle and I've got my thread, and I've used a slightly bigger needle than I usually do, only because some of this stuff is going to be slightly harder to push through, especially the leaf. So I want to make sure I can go through that quite easily, and I need to be able to go through this elastic as well. So I just chose a slightly bigger needle, and I've tied a knot in the end, and I'm just going to snip just below the ends of it. Sorry, I couldn't find my scissors for a minute. I was looking. There we go. So I'm just going to snip below the ends, okay? And the first thing you want to do is to go right, the other thing I didn't say that we probably needed is a piece of felt. And what I'm going to do is just cut off a little tiny piece of scrap felt, and I'm just going to sort of cut it into a circle shape. Now, I'm sure your cutting is going to be much better than mine. I'm absolutely useless at cutting circles and drawing circles. They always say that, you can't be an artist unless you can cut circles and that, and I think they're probably right in my case. Right, so as best you can do in your circle cutting, you can buy little circles of felt already cut out, but that's all right. You're not going to see it. It's going to be underneath your stick. So there you go. So what you want to do is to take your needle, and you're going to take this piece of felt and you're going to put it underneath your elastic like that, and then I would take my needle and put it in through the elastic like that. See if I can get it in a bit better. I'll get it right into the elastic like that, so it's coming out of the middle, okay? And that'll hide your knot away underneath. And then you can pop your elastic, and you want your elastic to go on top of your piece of felt, all right? So poke it back down through, okay? There we go. And then just do a couple more stitches just to hold that in place on that side. Right, if you notice, can you see my cotton is all tangling up, look, like that? Can you see that? Right, what you need to do is just drop your thread like that, and then just pull it down like that, okay? And then your thread won't tangle up like that anymore. That's really good thing to remember as well if you are doing embroidery and things like that. If you drop your thread, then you will get a better it won't bunch up so much. You'll get a much better looking finished to it, okay? Because that just means that it's sort of like tangled a little bit. There we go. Okay, right, so I've got that in there, so that's in. Now I'm going to put my first petal on, okay, and I'm just going to give it a few stitches on this side, just a couple, just like 2 will be fine on this side. Go right back down through your elastic and through your piece of felt. Okay, and do another one of those on that side. There you go. Okay, now I've used white thread, but you could use a yellow or an orange, or, you know, especially if you didn't want this thread, this felt, your stitches to show on your felt, you could use the same color felt, the same color cotton as you used on your felt. So then I've got my first one, so I'm going to get my second one, and this one I'm not going to put it directly on top, I'm just going to put it slightly off to the side so that it's forming a much more of a circular type shape. You want it sort of you want it to overlap but not right on top, and then I'm just going to poke it into the flower fabric and just do a couple of stitches, make sure it's going through that felt as well, not just into that flower underneath. All right, and don't worry about the stuff, any stitches here, because you're not going to see any of that because it's going to be covered over by the stuff on the top. All right, that's it. So I've got those two stitched on, and I'm going to grab my next piece, which is the slightly smaller one, and I'm going to put that one, I'm hoping you can see this okay, so that it's going over like that, so that it's sort of like in the middle of those petals with a gap there, and that petal will come into that gap, and I'm just going to do another 2 stitches so it goes into there. And I think basically, you know, that's all it really takes, is just a couple of stitches. You're not going to need an awful lot more to hold it in place. That's it. There you go. Just make sure it's going into that felt underneath, because you want something to hold it all together. Okay, right, and then we've got this tiny one, and this one for somehow or other has managed to get a diamante stuck on it. Don't know how that happened. Now the poppy I got, as I say, and it was just a poppy. This is one of those ones, I thought it was a smaller one, I just thought it looked cute to go in the centre. It came from one of those garlands you wear, like an Hawaiian garland, which you wear. I cut it all up and I got loads and loads of really pretty flowers, and as you could see, if you can sort of, especially for scrapbooking, that they're just about the right size, you can place a little diamante in that, and that makes a really pretty little flower. You can get those garlands for virtually nothing, £1 maybe, that sort of price. Okay, so, and those are, you get like a couple of 100 flowers coming off. So I'm going to pop that and stitch that one onto the centre again, and it was virtually exactly the same colours as the poppy I was using. So we will be doing our remembrance on Thursday, when this video should come out. So we will be doing our minute silence to thank everyone for their service. So I thought it'd be really nice to make a little poppy hairband. Either you could wear this if you wanted to, or you could put it on your doll or something and make, you know, something, a little poppy thing. Right, can you see when I did that, there was a little end? If you'd find that you get an end coming up and sticking up, if you pull one of these pieces of cotton, that will pull that end down. It actually went back down. Right, and then I'm just going to stitch this one into it as well. Now this is plastic, so what you'll have to do is just go around it. So I'm going to pop it in like that, my needle in, and then I'm going to put that one in the centre like that of the needle there, and I'm going to just place it down to one side of it there. Hopefully you can see that. Can you sort of see that? It's going in that side of the, so I put the one stitch through the centre and the other one I'm bringing through. And when you do that, you want to make sure your cotton doesn't get caught up at the front. You want it all to come down so it sits like that. Okay, hopefully you can see that. It's really difficult to get the right angle for you to see it. Okay, so it's gone in between that, and I'll do another stitch that side on that piece. Yeah, so it's come up through the middle. That's it, and I'm just going to take it down into there. That's it, and out through the felt. That's it, and I'm going to do exactly this. Oh no, so the next thing I want to do is to stitch on my leaf. Okay, I'm going to take my leaf, and it's got a long end on it, a long plastic end. You can cut that off if you think it's too big to go in yours, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop it right underneath. So all my flower is stitched on this side, but it's also stitched onto the elastic. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. I am going to cut that off. I'm just going to cut that bit off there. That's it. Because I really want to get into the fabric here. So I'm going to pop that underneath, right in as far as it'll go under. And I think that'll look quite cute there. And then I'm going to stitch that right under. I'm having a job getting it under. Wait a minute, let's have a look. I'll tell you what I'll do. We'll pop it here underneath that piece of felt. We'll put the felt over it, and then we'll put the elastic over afterwards, and then we'll make sure that felt comes right across the top there. That should be good. So I'm just going to go in and out of there and stitch that in. So I'll stitch my leaf in here through the felt around that piece of like the spine of the leaf there. I'm going to do a couple of stitches there. Won't need too many stitches because you are stitching a fabric, and this is going to hold much better than a glue. Now if you're going up through the whole thing, just be careful you don't sew any of those little layers down. Okay, so you want to just wiggle that until you get it all the way up through, and then take that back, and I just want to give it one nice firm stitch there where I know that's going to go. There we go. That should be okay. All right. Can you see that little end? That was what I was saying. All you have to do to get rid of that little end there is pull one of the sides of the string. So pulled that side and that didn't work. So I'm going to pull that one, look, and it just disappears inside there. I've managed to catch one of the stamen of the flower in it. So I'll just pull that out. Get that out of there. And that's better. And there you go. No, I still managed to catch the stamen. If you do catch the stamen, don't worry. You can just come around with your needle and pull the stitch off it. There we go. Get those stamens stitched standing up a bit. There we are. Yeah, got it now. Okay, and just be careful you don't go on another one. That's it. There you go. And it's nice, and that's pulled through nicely. So that's all stitched on one side, and all I'm going to do now is go back. I'm going to put my thread through the through the felt, like that, so close to where I was, and bring it out the other side of the felt, like that. Okay, so I've done a nice long thread there. And then I'm going to tuck in my elastic right in, like that, underneath that piece of felt. And then I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to sew the other side exactly the same as we did. So we're going to do just a few layers through on this side of the flower, and what you want to do is get as close to that stamen as you possibly can, as close to that center. Okay, and just do, you'll probably want to do like 4 or 5 stitches on this side as well. All right, and making sure when you come back through that second time, and I'm coming back into the metal, when you come back through that second time, make sure you go into the felt. If you can't get it into the felt, put your needle up and put it into the felt afterwards and pull that out. Okay, so do several stitches on that side as well, just to hold it in place. Okay, and that should work to have it held in. So I'll just go and do that. So I'm just going to sew the button in the middle. It's looking really cute. I'll just sew the button on. I'm just going to put I've just had to rethread the needle because I ran out of cotton. So I'm just going to put the knot underneath my piece of felt. I'll come up, used a bit long piece of thread actually, and then I'll put the little button into the center. There we go. You'll probably want about 4 stitches in that, just to hold that. 5 if you want to. You can put as many as you want in, but yeah, I think I've used white, and I think probably it would have been better if I'd have used an orange for the center of my button, but my button does have white spots on it, so I think it'll be all right. And the stamen are white anyway, so what do you think? And once I've done my 4 stitches, what I will do on the back is I will do just my knot. So we're just going to tie our knot now. So I've got my long piece of thread, placing it into the felt for a moment, pulling it right up nice and tight, and I'm going to pop my finger inside of it. So I've just got that. Oops. I must admit, I found this really fiddly. It keeps getting caught. It kept getting caught on stamens and things. So I've got my thread, and there it is, like that. And I've wrapped it around my finger, and I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to twirl it around once, and then I'm going to take that needle and I'm going to place it through that circle. Pull the thread out through. Make sure it don't get caught on those stamens again. And you see where that is there, that loop. I'm going to just hold on to that loop and pull down, because what I don't want it is for to have a big piece sticking out. And that's it, and there you go. And that's 1 knot, and I always like to do 2. Okay, so I do exactly the same again. So place it in, pull that knot up through, put your finger in that thread, twist it around, and place your needle inside it. Okay, and then just pull that through. That one's gone in much better than the other one. There, and then you've got a nice tight, that'll give you 2 knots. Now what I would do then is take my needle and just push it underneath everything and bring it out the other side like that, so that that end of that knot goes right underneath. It's all caught up again. It's not happy. There we go. I think I had too long of a thread there before I started. Let's see. So I'm just going to pull that right the way through. Get that straight first. If you find that happens, just give one of the sides a tug, because what it means is you've got more thread on one side than you have the other. I'm just going to pull that right through, okay, and take my scissors and snip it off. And there we go. And there you have a little hair grip. Hope you like it.